My name is Oliver Bass, otherwise known as Bass on the Pass, joined alongside by none other than Pyro J, and this is the Rocket League Esports.net show. The show all about Rocket League and why we love the game so much. And we're kicking this one off, the inaugural episode, if you will, with none other than the most iconic Rocket League, the best Rocket League goals of all time. It's a list compiled by Esports.net. And, well, honestly, this is a really cool thing to do here, Pyro. You and I are two people from the Rocket League scene. We've been doing a lot of work for Esports.net for a very long time, but these goals, man, this is what Rocket League is all about.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember when I first got into RLCS, it was not, in fairness, season 1, but some of these goals you just still know about because they are embedded in the infamy of the esport itself. So yeah, could be excited then to kick it off right here. And Bass, I think we're starting it out way back in 2017. We got Squishy Muffet. I mean, how was Squishy not going to be a part of this list?
I'll give you a hint. He's actually a part of this list a couple of different times. But the first one is for probably one of the most iconic shots in all of Rocket League. If you know what a ceiling shot is, you probably know this clip. So without further ado, let's just present the first one. And we're actually going to let you guys listen to this one. Have a quick little listen in.
At the very end of one of his games in the upper bracket, he almost had a touch, just fell short. I hope the pressure's not building up too much on him.
Now in the final minute, this was the scoreline in game 3. Cloud9 unable to take it, but Squishy now with a daily shot. He puts it through. He's been going for this stuff all season, and he pulls it off here in the most clutch moments.
The player to invent the shot himself is able to get the delayed front flip and just
Genuinely one of the most iconic clips that has ever been, literally ever. It's one of these things where the ceiling shot now is such an integral part of Rocket League. It is one of the highest mechanics in the entire game. Continues to be, and Pyro, that is the birth of it. Or not exactly the birth, but it's definitely what popularized it. And honestly, that is an accomplishment in itself.
Listen, Squishy, I mean, just the pioneer of these mechanics. And you mentioned maybe it's not the birth of it, but it isn't popularized like this to the degree that it was unless it's performed at the World Championship stage. Like, to do it, not only in a ranked game, not only in a regional, but the World Championship, and fake past the first defender off the ceiling and then flip it past the second. I mean, that just has everyone in an uproar. Sure, it's a rudimentary shot in today's age of Rocket League, but back then, groundbreaking. So it has to be part of the list. Another infamous name, though, in Rocket League esports that we have to mention as well is Devo, Devo on Team Envy. This is a blast from the past as well. The season following, I think, Bass, from season 4. Now we're at season 5.
Yeah, I believe so. And this is an interesting one as well, because this is a shot that not necessarily was the most overwhelmingly popular shot, but it's kind of popularized the style at which to approach this. We'll just show you guys this one and talk over it a little bit. Is, you know, the most popular shot, but because it's just such an interesting and fun one to look at. We've seen reads off the backboards many different times. A Doomsy Dish is one of the more popular ones, but when Devo ended up pulling that out in professional play, reactions were a little bit different than the standard backboard read.
Little bit, yeah. It crowd them, you know, sort of like double tap king. He's out here just working the backboard at every angle you can. And yeah, maybe that's not a typical backboard, that one kind of waterfalling off the ceiling. But when you display that amount of car control from those awkward angles that are able to read the ball as it drops down, yeah, puts the defenders in a blender, in a frenzy. Now, what else can maybe throw defenders off is maybe not defending at a 0-second point in the game. NRG, Justin, this is Rocket League. I think, Bass, maybe some people will know about this play. Maybe.
I'm just going to let this one speak for itself. This is none other than the most infamous call in Rocket League. If you don't recognize this off the first couple of seconds, I promise you'll remember it as soon as it's gone. Let's take a listen in.
Justin keeps it alive. Turbo wasn't there. Bounces into the corner. NRG still around. Justin is there for the shot. Justin! This is Rocket League! They did it! The Rookie of the Year! Ladies and gentlemen,
Genuinely, one of the most iconic moments in all of Rocket League history. There's nothing like that. Rocket
Dude,
League will
chills.
never be able to top that again. And it's funny because I am actually friends with Shogun, and I got to speak to him exactly about that moment and about his call there. And he had no idea it would turn into what it was. Many years later, he looks back upon that clip and he goes, it's kind of crazy that it was a different call he reminisced upon that night when he was on that event. And then all of a sudden, he starts to see this pop off on Twitter and on Reddit, and all of a sudden, Red Bull Gaming is reposting that clip, and everybody, for the rest of time, this is Rocket League. It's in the game now. There's a quick chat dedicated to just that call. You gotta be pretty good at your job, and it has to be a pretty incredible shot in order to live up to that amount of hype.
Yeah, there was actually a documentary done last season, debut for the World Championship, of parents and their kind of perspective on their kids playing the game. And Justin's dad, the player that scored the goal, remarks on this and says, I still watch it, and he tears up and he gets emotional and he cries like every single time he watches it, still to this day, years and years later. So Justin's dad watching it, casters around and fans around the world watching this clip forever in infamy. And well, Bass just had to be on the list.
Yeah, it absolutely had to. And again, the reason why we're not talking about the goal as much on that one, it's a ceiling shot. It's a cool shot from the air, but at this point, it's the clip that lives in infamy. It is why that continues to be on our list here at number 3. But number 4...
And I will, very quickly, Bess, it's the thing that, like, they didn't even win. You know, that was game 7. They had the forced OT. Unfortunately, NRG and I rooting for them couldn't actually close it out. Like, and it wasn't the craziest goal, but it's the moment. It's the clutch factor. It's the energy behind the commentary that just makes it so quintessential.
It truly is. And, well, including quintessential, why don't we talk about Squishy yet again, one of the most infamous names in all of Rocket League. And, well, this one's an interesting one because Squishy, we talked about how, you know, he popularized the ceiling shot. He popularized and invented a whole other shot as well. This one you also might be familiar with. Let's see how the flip reset came to be. We're going to take a listen in yet again.
Side Cloud9 mounting an assault. Squishy passes to himself.
He gets
Flip
it.
reset. Can he do it? Squishy Muffins! Torment finishes it off. What a play from Squishy and Cloud9.
There's never a stage too big for...
Yeah, so the flip reset, another invention of Squishy. We apologize for a little bit of odd resolution on that one there. Had a little bit of issues loading the clip, but at the same time, you can understand still just how important that shot is, no matter how you are looking at it. The flip reset, one of the most popular mechanics in all of Rocket League now, and back then, even if you pulled it out at any moment, not necessarily just in front of the goal, not on the ceiling, wherever, it was an impactful shot.
Yeah, and speaking of that play as well, you noticed the defender on the goal line had a real deer in the headlights moment, kind of stalled before leaping up to the ball that went right under the crossbar or popped off the crossbar. It's because it's just such a surprising play. You do not expect that in that moment. That was Squishy once again pioneering a mechanic that arguably, the flip reset, there has not been a more instrumental, influential mechanic that has hit the scene, been popularized, and been accepted by the pros to this day. Of course, mechanics are being adopted, but in terms of the impact, that play, it catalyzed a whole new game, whole new esport of Rocket League. So it has to be talked about from Squishy Muffins. I don't know if we see Squishy again. I don't think we do, but to pop up twice on the list already, Bass, pretty nice.
There's only one other person who is going to do that, and you're going to have to find out. But speaking of new people, why don't we talk about another veteran of the game in Astral. Astral has been around the block for longer than we can remember, but the thing is, he's been a clip hitter since the very beginning. And this clip in particular is an interesting one because this is fresh off of what was a defending world champion in Team Dignitas. They were very strong, but they decided, let's try something new. How about we try something none other than Astral. This is a cool clip. Let's take a look in on this one. We're not going to
available if you're able to find a flip reset. That is just, oh man. I mean, that's the thing that we were talking about, right? Squishy Muffins pioneering the flip reset in pro play, but then watch how it adapts. Then watch how it evolves into so much more than just a rudimentary mechanic. Astral, always a player that's going to push the limits.
He absolutely is. He has been doing that for, like we said, forever, and he still does it to this day. But speaking of push the limits, I feel like we have to talk about another team and another, I would say, very interesting storyline. There's a little bit we got to add to this one here. So for those who are not aware, Sandrock Gaming was the first international team to ever hit the stage from the Middle East and North Africa region of RLCS. It was a brand new region added to all of RLCS, inducted with APAC North, APAC South, and SSA, Sub-Saharan Africa. All of these were brand new regions, but Sub-Saharan, Sub-Saharan Africa. But here's the big difference, is that MENA had already made a name for itself. Sandrock Gaming, in particular, had made a name for itself, but when they got the chance to go onto the world stage and compete at none other than London, the where was it? The Copperbox Stadium land that we had just a little while ago. I believe the spring or winter major? Spring major. Excuse me. I'm just going to say, listen in on this one as well. This will explain all the excitement as this team, for the first time ever, looked to try and get their first win in international history.
Chicago sends it over the halfway, but Senzo's waiting for him. It's back and forth. It's both teams' posture for OT. G2 will quite happily take it. Sandrock, they don't want to go there. Ahmad! Sends another redirect straight into the G2 net. 3-0!
Anticipate no more! Sandrock Gaming have arrived! Middle East...
Oh my God, Bats! I gotta tell you, and first of all, it was fall major, so we were both wrong. But what a play! What a redirect! I mean, you can hear the energy. Ahmad, like bursting onto the scene, and so many people around the world looking at this new region into RLCS, and that's why it was so pivotal, right? Bats, it was the fall major, it was their first international event. How do you make a bigger statement than that?
And again, it's another one of those things where the call lives on in infamy. Everybody knows that Johnny Boy call. And again, it was very personal for Johnny as well. He was one of the first people to pioneer the MENA scene and really put a spotlight on players from that region. In particular, Ahmad, as well as his teammate in Khaled, were two of the best ones players to ever exist in the region. They formed a threes team with none other than Senzo. And, well, here we are to this day. Him, TRK, and a couple others have really pioneered that region as a whole. And shots like that are what put them on the world stage as a true competitor. I think something that a lot of people did not expect from these new regions is that you would have competitors like that. And speaking of competitors, I feel like we got to talk about one of the youngest and one of the best competitors in the game. Man, I remember watching this because as great as Sandrock were, they did eventually have to fall. This was the grand champions, the grand finals of none other than the London major, the one we just spoke about by accident on the other one. This was one of the coolest shots ever. I got to see this in person. And this time, we're going to take another listen in. Look at what is Joyo's shot at the LAN major.
Championship. We're going to finish off this job right here, right now, Tom.
Think about all the work these players put in throughout the spring split. Your backs are against the wall if you're Team Falcons. Meanwhile, Moist Esports.
Of all the work they put in.
They're confident, but why wouldn't you be when you can play like Joyo? That is outrageous.
Again, Pyro, this is one of those shots where there's so much history that goes into it. Moist Esports, a brand new rookie team, being able to show off one of the best performances ever, and it was a lower bracket run on top of that. They were able to do it from a lower bracket where they bracket reset and then again win against Sandrock Gaming twice in a row. They were able to do exactly that, and one of the coolest things about this is an evolution of everything we have looked at here. The ceiling shot that Squishy pioneered, the flip reset that Squishy pioneered, all of these things all sort of combined into one. And this is where we've gotten to. You look at the beginning of this list of mechanics that were there, and you look at the mechanics that you now have nowadays with players like Joyo. And honestly, at this point, the ceiling is limitless here, Pyro. There's so much to be shown.
There's a lot of potential. And listen, I'll add more context. I mean, this was after Moist Esports tried making the one run in the winter major. So much energy behind them, they just couldn't finish out the event. They had to do it here at the spring major of that RLCS 2021-2022 year, and they were able to do that. I mean, that second goal right there after they were completing the sweep after the bracket reset was like the moment where Sandrock, you just lift your hands out the controller. You say, okay, Joyo, the freestyling background that he has, you should only be able to do that kind of stuff in free play, where freestylers, you know, spend their time in private matches, in low-level casual lobbies, you know, wherever it is, that's where it should be done, not on the RLCS Grand Final stage. But who other than Joyo to make it look that easy, but so elegant as well? So, yeah, a shot that will live on in infamy. But Bass, we still got one more on our list.
Got one more team, and, well, it's the same team that we just saw, but with a little bit of a twist. After their win there at Landon, Moist Esports actually ended up breaking up a little bit less than a year later, but the new pickup for them was the only other person that is going to get a repeat appearance here on the list besides Squishy. We talked about him a little while ago. Astral is still making waves even to this day, and in the most recent major, he was able to do none other than upset what truly would be the #1 favorites coming into the event. They did not win it. They were able to get pretty dang close, and it was due to shots like this. Let's take a listen in.
Shaping up to be the game Carmine Court needed. Joyo off kickoff. Astral also coming off the ceiling. Oh! He's on a different plane! What was that? He's not real! What a read from Astral! And he was up before Joyo!
This was a breakout performance for Astral, honestly, Pyro. This was something special, and again, the context behind it is crazy when you look at Vatira, Astral, KC, Moist, so much history between those two teams.
Oh, yeah, that's a grudge match right there. And people really question, like, can Moist even find the success that they did with that, you know, who they had already, Rise, Joyo, Vatira, no one will forget that team. But when you add Astral into the complex and you know how mechanically gifted he is, and you even consider how they've built up even maybe arguably better chemistry than we've seen between Moist Esports with that passing play between Astral and Joyo, it becomes more and more exceptional. I even think that RLCS used that exact shot, that exact clip to hype up the winter major coming up for this RLCS 2022-23 season. So yeah, even the folks at Rocket League know what's up with that goal. It was just, I mean, chef's kiss.
Iconic in so many different ways. Again, the pinch off the ceiling, the read off the ceiling. Astral was doing this all day. Again, it is a grudge match beyond compare there, and it's honestly a grudge that's probably going to be kept for a little while longer because we have got more, even more Rocket League coming up very soon. Like you said, the next major is in none other than San Diego. The winter major is just on the horizon here, and honestly, we're probably going to see even more goals added to this list. And, well, we'd like to hear what you guys think about this list as well. Give us a little bit of a comment if you agree with our goals. What do you think are the best goals of all time? Do we miss any? You know, let us know. And otherwise, we will see you next time. That is all that we have got today here for the Rocket League Esports.net show. My name, once again, is Oliver Bastard, alongside by none other than Pyro J. We will see you guys next week for even more Rocket League coverage. Have a good one.